John.
Going back to the Planned Parenthood videos, you've been asked several days, wondered if you have an answer now on whether or not the president has actually seen any of these videos.
I haven't asked him that question point blank, but I do know that he is aware of the news that those videos have generated.
One of the central question here, of course, is whether or not Planned Parenthood was involved in the selling of fetal tissue for profit. There sure seems to be a strong suggestion that was exactly what was being talked about on those videos. Does the White House believe this should be investigated? Obviously, the selling of fetal tissue, fetal body parts for profit is against the law. Does the White House believe it should be investigated?
Well, John, what I will say is I know that I haven't seen the videos, but those who have taken a close look at them have raised some significant concerns about their authenticity and whether or not they accurately convey the view of those particular officials or even the broader institution. The New York Times described this as a campaign of deception. The Seattle Times described this as a manufactured crisis. And the Mercury News even described those videos as grossly misleading. The other thing that I alluded to yesterday is we have seen this kind of tactic be attempted by other extremist organizations that have an ideological agenda. And they marshaled what purported to be convincing and damning evidence that that later did not prove to hold up to much scrutiny. I guess the scrutiny that these videos have gotten thus far from at least a handful of news organizations raises significant doubts about their authenticity. When it comes to a specific determination that needs to be reached about whether or not any sort of criminal behavior or criminal action took place, that is obviously a determination that would be made by career prosecutors at the Department of Justice, and so I'd refer you to them for any decisions they feel like they need to make on this matter.
But it seems like the thrust of your comments are critical on those that have brought this evidence out, not at the alleged underlying behavior, which would be, if true, criminal behavior. I mean, does the White House believe that this longstanding ban on the for-profit selling of fetal tissues is something that should be enforced, and if there were a violation, it should be prosecuted?
Well, of course, this is the policy and the law, and we think everybody should be following the law. There's also a question.
Who chose to selectively
but there's also a question of ethics, and what Planned Parenthood has indicated is that their standards are consistent with the highest ethical standards that are out there. And again, there are significant questions that have been raised by outside organizations about the content of these videos. So I think that would explain the comments that I've shared here. But when it comes to making decisions about either an investigation of possible criminal activity or charges being brought consistent with the suspicion of criminal activity, those would be questions for the Department of Justice.
It sounds like you're saying we should just believe Planned Parenthood because they've said that they've upheld the highest ethical standards.
Well, I think the standards that they say that they have in place are certainly relevant in this case. And again, those who have taken a close look at the videos have raised some significant concerns based on their own observations about the authenticity of the video. But ultimately, I think the American people will take a look at the evidence and decide for themselves.
But nobody here has taken a close look at the video. I mean, you keep referring to people who have taken a close look, but has anybody here taken a close look?
Well, I think it's possible that people here have seen the video, but just based on the fact that it's gotten a lot of news attention. But I haven't. I don't know if the president has. And I certainly know that there are a handful of people who I think can legitimately be described as impartial observers who have raised some significant concerns about the content of those videos. Okay. Let's move around. John.